our kids. We call them Speleo kids. And they have presented their scientific work in 2 national congress, and they will going to present in September in a Latin American Congress of Bats. And these are our kids. So she presented this in the National Congress, in 2 national congresses. And her job is, she goes to the caves with us, she collects the small pieces of insects, she goes to the planetarium and clean them and asks to the experts. And now she correlates the insects with the bats, and she knows what is eating every species of bat here in Playa del Carmen. Yeah. That science, that could be a biologist studying at university doing the same job, but now the kids here are doing this, and that's why I'm so angry and so sad with this project, because we've been working with these kids the last 6 years, and now they know the importance of a bat, the importance of a cave, the importance of a small bug, and suddenly the government comes and destroys their jungle just in front of their eyes. I cried because all this job, all this work that we've done, all the kids when they see this, they cry. Our teenagers here, because there are not only kids, we have the Speleo kids and the Speleo teenagers. They are crossing. They're having depression. I know that. I see their faces. I know their hearts, and they are suffering with this because now they're touched by nature. They suddenly realize the paradise where they live. They knew something already, but when they saw the bugs, the jungle, the interactions of the jungle and the caves, it's like wow, this is the place where I live, and suddenly this government starts with the big machines destroying their jungle, and they are really suffering right now. I'm really worried about it. So these kids, they see that we are fighting to preserve the jungle, and that's because that is something that every citizen should do in every part of the world to protect their nature, because that's our future, that's our treasure. I want the kids and the teenagers see that we need to fight for this. We just can't be sitting in our houses, watching how our world and our future and their future is being destroyed by the government.
Yeah, sure.
Es desarrollo sustentable. ¿Qué es el desarrollo sustentable? Es que pueda haber crecimiento, que pueda haber empleos sin destruir el medio ambiente, cuidar la flora, cuidar la fauna.
¿Cuál es la idea del Tren Maya? Bueno, pues comunicar toda esta región que está llena de ciudades antiguas mayas. Es un territorio de la gran cultura maya. Esta es una gran obra porque en total son 1.500 kilómetros.
Inauguremos esta obra beneficio del pueblo. Este es un proyecto para reactivar la economía en el sureste del país. El proyecto tiene que ver con impulsar el turismo.
No se toca, no se altera en nada los ríos subterráneos y los cenotes. No hay monte alto, no hay selva. Son acahuales.
Ya inició el programa Sembrando Vida. Surgieron algunos que protestaron diciendo que se iba a afectar el medio ambiente. No, no se va a tirar un solo árbol, al contrario. Vamos a sembrar millones de árboles en el sureste. Vamos a cuidar el medio ambiente.
Este movimiento es un movimiento de ciudadanos y ciudadanas preocupados, sensibilizados, pero sobre todo ocupados por la conservación del medio ambiente. Es un proyecto que está devastando nuestra selva en esta región.
Nosotros estamos aquí para proteger el acuífero y la selva en bienestar de todos, no solamente de los buzos, sino de todos los que no tienen voz. Los cenotes que ustedes ven en las fotografías son solamente una ventana a un intricadísimo y súper complejo mundo de vida endémica y es fuente del agua potable para toda la región. No estamos en contra del desarrollo, lo queremos proteger.
Y aquí estamos y aquí seguiremos porque nos importa esto, no para nosotros, sino para todos y para todas y para las futuras generaciones. Queremos el bien común, todos queremos un México brillante y hermoso, nadie quiere un México malo, nosotros estamos...
The Yucatán Peninsula is a massive expanse of tropical rainforest and subtropical rainforest that is the largest expanse of rainforest north of the Panama Isthmus. It takes from the center of the Yucatán Peninsula south all the way to Chiapas. We have the largest amount of biodiversity there. The government has a program called Sembrando Vida. And Sembrando Vida is basically a program for the young people of the rural areas of Mexico to plant trees. It doesn't matter, it doesn't say where to plant them or what kind to plant. They just ask them to plant trees and they pay them for that. They pay them handsomely. The problem here, there's a major caveat that is logically completely absurd, that is causing deforestation. Because these kids are going to the main primary forest, cutting the primary forest, humongous trees, 20, 30 meters tall, and then once it's open, plant small trees that are going to be dead in a month or two because nobody's going to pay attention to them, nobody's going to take care of them, nobody's going to water them. And if, even if the rains come in time, the vast majority of those trees are going to die. That is the force of nature. From 1,000 trees that are planted, maybe 10 are going to make it to maturity. So there's no way that a program like Sembrando Vida is going to counter the incredible losses of millions of mature trees that are being destroyed by the train.
Measure, and it is 1 meter 25.
So, what are you doing here?
I am taking measure of trees, which I think that are representative for the size of trees which is generally cut down here to basically evidence that this is a real jungle, because there is this myth going on, or there's this belief going on that it's really no problem to cut it all down because it's for this beneficial project of the Mayan train. And so of this people will benefit. And the only thing which has been cut down is like not even jungle, but this is a healthy jungle. It's a healthy jungle, and it has big trees. This tree has 1 meter 25, 27 of circumference. And this is like an average. There are others we found of like 3 meters and so on. If you cut down something like this in the city, like without any permit and without paperwork and so on, you get like super heavy fines. Yeah. And this has all been cut down without the necessary studies and documents. And there are monkeys here. I've seen a lot of birds of prey here, which are difficult to see, which are actually in danger of extinction or threatened. A porcupine, which is very threatened, very difficult to see. And there are jaguars, there are sites of jaguars here sometimes in that area. So that's a functional jungle.
This train is planned to go in between 2 walls. And so for the wildlife, that usually the wildlife, it's on the west side. It's like a corridor, it's a Mesoamerican corridor, and so jaguar, pumas, and many other species, they travel around, they migrate. But they need to cross this future train in order to get to the water source that are the caves that are on the east side. So they're not going to be able to pass, and that's going to be terrible for the wildlife, for migrating mammals. And the ones that stay on the east sides, they're going to be trapped. They're not going to be able to go out. And eventually they're going to disappear because they're going to be hunted or because they're not going to have enough food. So we see a really bad scenario for wildlife, because it's not only the strip of the train, this 60-meter line. No, it's the 5 kilometers that are in between this new line and the urbanized area. So we're going to kill just in this Tramo 5 Sur, the south, that's 67 kilometers. Well, we're not only going to deforestate 60 meters to 67 kilometers. It's 5 kilometers times the 67 kilometers. So it's going to be a huge loss of jungle.
A project like the Mayan train should be contemplating wildlife passes. But wildlife passes have to be very, very well done. The information that I have right now is that the more than 99% of the wildlife passes are not really wildlife passes. What they are is culverts under the road that are there for the benefit of the engineering needs of the project. In other words, the train is here, there's a hill here, the hill catches water in the rain, and the rain has to have a pass under the train that is a culvert. That culvert is there for engineering purposes. What we need is wildlife passes like overpasses, passes in which at least 40 or 50 meters long, covering the Mayan train infrastructure with vegetation growing on top. And that is going to allow monkeys and tapirs and jaguars and deer and other wildlife. But I have absolutely zero evidence that they are contemplating those kinds of passes, of wildlife passes, anywhere in the Mayan train. Because of the geologic structure of the Yucatán Peninsula, which is basically a major, massive Gruyere cheese, full of holes inside, full of holes underground. Those holes are actually caves, underwater caves or open cave, right? But those caves are absolutely essential for the future of the peninsula, for the protection of the aquifer, but for the protection of the bats as well. Specifically, there is this one cave, which is the largest cave in the neotropics. That means from central Mexico to southern Argentina, there's no bigger cave than what is called the Bat Volcano in the Calakmul area of Campeche in the south of the Yucatan Peninsula. That cave has about 3 million bats. Each million bats destroys 10 tons of insects every night. So just that cave alone is destroying 30 tons of insects every night. Unfortunately, the train is supposed to go very close to that cave. If they destroy that cave, they can say goodbye to all of the agriculture and all of the pest control benefits and seed dispersal and pollination benefits that we get from those bats. They cannot touch that cave.
I mean, we don't have another source of water in this area, so that's why it's very important to protect these caves.
It's collecting all the rainwater, basically.
Yes, we live over our source of water. Every person, every animal, every plant has their roots in these caves. We live thanks to this water. In your hotel room, the water that you have there, it's from the caves and the underground. And this is the most important ecosystem in this area. Why? Because it connects. It gives life to the jungle. It gives life to the mangrove. It gives life to the Caribbean. We connect all of these ecosystems. That's why this is the most important ecosystem in this area. Parts of coral reefs, shields of mollusks, and thousands and millions of small bugs from the plankton. So when they died, they fell to the bottom of the sea, and they, all of these dead bodies, they just grow, and for their weight, they were compressed and formed this rock. All of this rock is called biogenetic rock. It was formed from animals in the past. So all of this process is at the bottom of the sea. But as the world is always changing, this part of the peninsula came up and went over the sea. From the first moment that the limestone is exposed to the rain, it starts dissolving, because thanks to this process that is called karstification. The landscape is called karst. And every time it rains, the water comes through the pores of this rock, dissolving it. When it reaches the vacuum of the cave, the drops in all of these formations degasificate the gas that they have inside. Comes out from the drop. So they put a little bit of calcium carbonate around it, and they make these formations, and in the end they fall to the floor. So we have this water. This is crystal clear water, and this water is not still. Every time it rains, this water has its own way to the Caribbean Sea, and this feeds the Caribbean. When this water reaches the Caribbean and it's crystal clear, it helps the corals to survive, because even though there are animals, they have inside of their bodies some algae that make photosynthesis, so they need a crystal clear water so the sun can reach them and feed the coral. When you put organic matter in this water, or drainage, because many cities in Quintana Roo, they have their drainage straight to the cave, and you have all of this water that is not crystal clear, it will kill the coral or help the coral to die.
And the coral are basically like what forms that.
Yes. Yeah, when the coral dies, it goes to the bottom of the sea, and the process starts all over again. And the white sands in Cancun are thanks to the calcium carbonate that comes back. You have this white sands. It's a whole process, and everything is about calcium carbonate.
And so everybody comes here for the white sand beaches, but they don't realize that they're destroying.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
El arrecife de coral además lo daña otra cosa, o sea, lo dañan los contaminantes que vienen de la península, ¿no? Nosotros ahora tenemos ahí en la península que se ha permitido el desarrollo de agroindustrias. Entonces, entre otras cosas, se ha sembrado soya transgénica, que está prohibida, pero que pues la han logrado sembrar, pero además que se aplican agrotóxicos, se aplican químicos para este tipo de cultivos, y esos químicos, la península tiene una estructura que hace que el agua vaya del centro hacia los costados, y entonces esos químicos que están ahí todos corren con el agua hacia la costa, ¿no? Y en la costa están dañando el arrecife bacteriano de Bacalar, están dañando los arrecifes coralinos de la costa, ya propiamente del Caribe, y están provocando una serie de alteraciones ahí también, que bueno, a la larga son, aparte de que es un daño irreversible, ya en algunos casos, si esto continúa y si se acelera a través del proyecto Tren Maya, pues va a ser un desastre ecológico total, ¿no?
En el tema de las granjas porcícolas, que son como 250 granjas que hay, y en cada granja se cría más de 200,000 cerdos, mucho o casi todo el desecho fecal de los cerdos los dirigen hacia los cenotes. Y esto es una contaminación terrible. Tan es así que a día de hoy, la leche materna en algunas comunidades tiene o contiene algunos rastros de herbicida, de heces fecales también, y de cocaína de los hoteles. Entonces los niños que están siendo amamantados a veces crecen medio locos por la cocaína y por una cantidad de glifosato que se usa en estos líquidos, en estas herbicidas y pesticidas, ¿no? Entonces, eso es un ataque directo contra el agua, es un ataque directo en contra de los cenotes. Y es muy lamentable porque la Secretaría del Medio Ambiente es quien le otorga los permisos a estas empresas para que hagan eso.
Estos agroindustrias es importante tenerlas en cuenta porque forman como un círculo de abastecimiento. Esas agroindustrias abastecen a las granjas avícolas y porcícolas. Entonces son alimento, esa soya transgénica de la que quiero hablar, es alimento para los animales de las granjas, que son granjas intensivas, con un alto grado de hacinamiento de los animales, ¿no? y que generan muchos desechos, y esos animales son los que van a los hoteles, ¿no? Y entonces, bueno, el círculo se hace, y luego esos turistas son los que vienen a visitar los lugares dentro de la selva donde el agua se está acabando y ellos vienen a consumir la poca agua que queda. O sea, es un círculo vicioso, no virtuoso. No es la idea esta de que va a servir para potenciar el desarrollo en la región. En realidad va a servir para hacer la región insustentable. Una región que era sustentable hasta hace poco tiempo.
Could you just explain what we just saw?
Well, we just came out of this illegal dump area, and we took two roads, one to the very, very illegal that has been going on for many years, where they dump all construction trash and plastics and fridges and tires and whatever they can think of, and they just cut the jungle, they tore down the jungle to create area for these dumps, and in some areas they even burn it.
We just left, like, I don't know,
10 meters
Yeah.
of jungle around, and the rest is just trash. It's unbelievable. All the pile, you see the overhang to the entrance of the cenote? 10 meters behind is all that pile of trash we just saw.
It's so close. It's like literally on top of the cenotes.
Makes me cry. It's very sad to see that there's one of the most beautiful cave dives that have some remains in there. It has only left like 10 meters of jungle around it, and the rest is garbage already. So I'm sure that water is super polluted at the moment. We just went to this other road parallel to the first one, and it used to be a pristine jungle about 2 years ago, and now they're starting to tear down things to allow illegal dumping, if you can say the word, I don't know, but just dumping garbage. But probably pollution brings him more money. So I cannot just pinpoint out my finger to this guy. He's probably trying to make a living, and that brings more money to his pocket, receiving garbage.
La península de Yucatán es una placa de piedra calcárea que está formada por carbonatos de calcio. La lluvia trae, aunque en pequeñas dosis, ácido carbónico que va corroyendo carbonato de calcio, y de esa forma se van formando los cenotes. Pero de la misma manera que esto sucede también con la basura. Viene la lluvia pasa a través de esa basura. La basura pues tiene muchos agentes contaminantes. Esa basura, esos agentes contaminantes se van al manto freático y se van por todos los cenotes hasta finalmente concluir su paso al mar.
Va el aumento de población circulando, turistas y otros, ¿no? Pero población circulando por ahí, pues también tiende a causar muchos problemas en varios sentidos. Uno es que evidentemente van a tener una demanda de agua mayor. Entonces al acuífero ya hoy se le está sobreexplotando en la península, y con el aumento de población, bueno, la sobreexplotación va a ser tal que el cálculo es que se vaya secando el agua que está ahí y que ya no sea suficiente para abastecer a la población.
Right now, many of the cities and towns in the Yucatán Peninsula do not have the proper sewage system or treatment plants for water. What that is causing is that the aquifer, the sole main resource for the future of the peninsula, is being destroyed, is being looted. The waste produced by tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, we have absolutely no way of resolving that and moving it out to where there is no treatment plants. There's no way that sewage is not going to go anywhere else but the aquifer. So it would be self-propagating destruction of the aquifer, pollution of the aquifer, destruction of human and natural life.
The other effect is just chopping down all these trees. We have seen it, that when the hurricanes fall or the tropical storms fall, every year we have at least 2 or 3 of them. Whenever you have a deforestation like this, all the soil that doesn't have roots to hold it, it goes straight into the underground system, and the water quality changes. This water that usually is transparent because it's water that's filtering through the karst, suddenly can become it's dirty. And this could happen after the first hurricane or the first tropical storm, and that's going to flow. And the water that flows through the underground system flows really slowly. So if that happens, it's going to take a while for it to clean, because it's not like a normal river that water flows. Now here it flows, but really, really, really slow. And so that's the first thing we might see soon. But if the construction of the train continues, all these machines passing, they might drip diesel, oils, and that, whenever it rains, all those fluids that could fall from the machines, from the construction process, even the cement, it's going to go down into the underground system and will change the quality of the water, the characteristics of the water, and that flow is going to eventually get to the sea. So we might have changes in the water quality in the area just in the construction. But let's say they finish this train and in 2 years it's going to be operating. Well, when it operates, it's going to be basically the same. I mean, we know that the train can have drippings of oils, combustibles, and also maybe metals. To the train, I suppose, have metal that will go down to the water systems again. And just imagine having oils and metal particles in this pristine water system. It's a big risk.
There are people who are afraid that the train can fall down. And we have found places that of course, when the train goes over this, it will fall down, like it's totally sure.
The rock here in this part of Mexico is very, very fragile. It can be broken very easily. So if they do end up building the train, it could collapse at any moment, killing a lot of people, which has already happened. The construction company that is building the train built a train in Mexico City that broke down and killed, I think, like 39 people.
The government has said that if there is a cave along the path of the train that runs the risk of crushing down, the government is going to put columns of cement inside the cave to keep the roof in place. The government is forgetting that this is karstic rock. This is calcareous rock that is very brittle, very, very sensitive, very vulnerable to anything that happens. So if they want to put those columns there, just putting the columns there is going to be a major disturbance to the cave itself, to the cave ecosystem, and the plants and animals inside. But in addition, what is going to happen is that the column is going to sustain this piece of rock here, and everything else is going to come crash down. So there's really nothing that I have seen that there is some technology to protect those caves other than leaving those caves alone.
Could you explain again what you're doing here?
Yes, we are making a topographic map of the collapse. This is the collapse. This cave was already discovered in 2015, and the name of the cave is 7 pesos. But they just have the topographic points, but no map. So we are making this map because it's very urgent, because we are just next to the Tren Maya line. It's just here. You can see jungle, and there is no jungle anymore. So this is very urgent. We need to have this map, so nobody come and says to us, there is no caves, there are no caves here, there's nothing. So we can say there is a cave, there is a big cave. We have Maya ruins inside, we have life, we have water, and that's why we're making this kind of map. We have the whole collapse. Big cave here, another cave here.
Mm-hmm. So are you gonna make it into like one big map?
Yes, yes, and then we put the Tren Maya trail over here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, showing how like close it is.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. On the top, the trail is on the top, right?
Mm-hmm. It goes directly on top?
Yes, directly on top, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you see here the trail, the rail, no, goes just over this underground rivers, and this is a particular area in the whole peninsula. No, there is nothing like this in the rest of the peninsula of Yucatan. So it concentrates all the water in this space of land. And what happens is that it creates these rivers. No, they are very shallow in depth, and they are also the longest in the planet, no? And it just happened here, not anywhere else. And this is where we have found also the 10 oldest human fossils in all over the peninsula, and they are the oldest, not just only in the peninsula, but in the rest of the continent. 10 of them, and they are concentrated in here. So it is a unique and particular geological, historical, cultural, natural area right in here. All these yellow spots are the cenotes that have some kind of remains, no? Archaeological and paleontological fossils or remains, archaeological stuff, no? Some from the Mayans, some from the prehistoric inhabitants in this area.
Those are the ones that we have explored. Imagine how much information is yet to be discovered.
Yeah.
It's horrible to think. We feel actually nausea every time we think about it.
What is going to happen is they're going to destroy all this before we really know what's going on in there, before we really know the history that it is beneath the soil. No? So it is not really something logical, no? For the history, for the nature, for the culture, for everyone. For the water, actually, no? For the life itself.
The rush they have with the studies archaeologists from the government are doing, it makes me doubt of the quality of their investigations. They are claiming they have a LiDAR technology to accelerate the survey, but in first place, they are not using an adequate LiDAR scanner. They are using drones with small scanners that don't have enough resolution to trespass the canopy. They should have been using very large scanners mounted on planes or helicopters that are much more expensive. And another thing is that in this area we have a lot of archaeological remains in caves that can go, that span between simple walls to full temples built inside the caves. So it's a problem. You know?
So they are doing the best that they can, no? The archaeologists, but it is not enough time. And this is inland. But if you start thinking about what the works needs to be done underground, in the rivers, no, underwater, it is not possible that can be done in the times of the Mayan train. No way. No, it takes decades, no, to just get into these underground rivers, explore, no, and check out whatever is in there and do the research, no, and also whatever you have found. We know already some of these artifacts. We know already of these archaeological sites. Where are they located? Underground. So to transport these to the surface, it's not that easy. No, you have a map, okay, you have a cartography, and you can maybe guess around where it's gonna be up there, no, but it is not that accurate. It is not that not that precise. No, it is not that punctual to get into these places. And also, that's what you know already. But there is lots also to be discovered. No, and it is no way. There is no way how archaeologists underground archaeologists can do all this in this period of time. It will take an eternity, a lot of decades to really do a very good research on these places. So they are going over cenotes, over some caverns with some Mayan stuff, and yeah, then it seems to be that is the plan. No, you just get the information as much as you can. Once you get the information, keep it and try to do the research somewhere else, because the train is going to go through there, and it's gonna, well, it's not gonna be moved. No, you're just gonna it's gonna be covered, and then the trail is gonna go over all that. So yeah, that's what it seems to be the plan.
This is a priority for the president, and then the president is cutting off many other programs around the country, particularly for health and education. So all the money that normally should go to the health system, to the education system, is going now to building this infrastructure.
No estamos en contra, yo como lo he comentado en varias ocasiones, no estoy en contra del tren. Está bien que haga su trenecito. O sea, si para ellos es más importante invertir miles de millones en un maldito tren y desviar ese dinero que debe haber servido para salud. Murieron, cifras oficiales, más de 300,000, obviamente sabemos que son 600,000, lo sabemos perfectamente. Sabemos que faltan medicamentos en los hospitales, es más importante un maldito tren. Sabemos que hace falta seguridad, es más importante un maldito tren. No, ahorita a los niños les quitaron las escuelas de tiempo completo, 3,5 millones de niños se quedaron sin escuelas de tiempo completo, que eran niños que la única comida buena al día que tenían era la de su escuela. Se las quitaron por un maldito tren, por un maldito capricho de un presidente que no escucha a quien sabe. Es un irresponsable presidente.
They talk about new cities around the station, no? To make
it's going to be developed. For sure. They need to put here where they're going to give service to the machines, where they're going to, and it's gonna, in the station, it's going to grow. It's going to be a supermarket, it's going to be a this, it's going to be that. Then it's going to grow. We are like a virus. So as soon as we open a little bit, we fragment the jungle, that's going to spread.
And they're planning to build between, I've heard different numbers, but it's something between 13 or 16 new cities in a place that it's already... I mean,
we don't have drain.
The ecosystems here.
Source system for.
The ecosystems in Quintana Roo crashed like 5 or maybe 10 years ago. It's all fucked up here, and now they want to build more cities. The caves, the jungle, the coral reef. They're not going to support these new cities. Wow. So.
Otro de los daños relacionado con el aumento del turismo en la región. Ha sido durante 4 o 5 décadas ya que tiene Cancún, ha sido el aumento de la violencia, de los crímenes, de actividades pues delictivas de diferentes tipos, por ejemplo trata de personas y evidentemente consumo de drogas. En los hoteles estos de turismo masivo, uno de los problemas fuertes que se tiene es justo el consumo de drogas. Muchos turistas llegan ya pensando en que llegan a la fiesta permanente con drogas y mujeres, ¿no? O a veces mujeres, niños, lo que sea. Entonces, eso en Cancún ha aumentado mucho los índices delincuenciales. Ha preocupado mucho a las poblaciones de la región porque pues el cuidado de sus jóvenes, ¿no? De sus hijos es mucho más delicado hoy que lo que era antes, y con los hoteles lo que se hace es una urbanización rápida, entonces provoca como desequilibrios sociales, alteraciones. Y ocurre que muchos de los jóvenes que van a trabajar a los hoteles, pues de repente son convencidos de consumir alguna droga, y empieza también a haber un problema yo diría de salud en la población, de salud que los lleva también a situaciones de violencia potencial, por lo menos. Entonces, aumento de violaciones de mujeres es bastante alto en esa zona. Hay muchas organizaciones no gubernamentales que han estado documentando todo esto, y entonces violaciones, robo de niñas, de niños, y alteración en las costumbres de los propios jóvenes que están en estos ámbitos semiurbanizados, ¿no? Digo semiurbanizados porque obviamente hay la urbanización principal y luego hay como especie de cinturones alrededor, que son como las que llamamos villas miseria. O sea, son los lugares de, pues yo diría de urbanización para los pobres, ¿no? En que tanto la construcción es precaria como también las formas de vida son precarias. Entonces los trabajadores que van ahí, que tienen un salario bajo y que no tienen acceso a los grandes hoteles, ¿no? Más que como empleados, pues tienen que habitar muchas veces en estas zonas que tienen problemas incluso de sanidad, no tienen los servicios suficientes. Esto va generando una descomposición social que es fuerte, es paulatina, pero es fuerte y es irreversible. Y entonces el problema de la irreversibilidad, tanto en el terreno social, cultural, como en el terreno ambiental, es muy preocupante. Y el proceso que se está desatando ahí en la península tiene estas características.
They take the name of Maya, but they don't have the Maya. They don't care the Maya. Mayas has been the same as the last 5 decades. They didn't have the progress they promised. They didn't have enough schools or hospitals. They don't care about the Maya. They just care about the name, the brand. They are earning a lot of money with this name, and it's the same with the Maya train. We say that train is not Maya, and it's not a train.
We're not going to use it. If I want to go to Cancun or Tulum, I go to the main road and want to take a collective or whatever. I'm not going to the Tren Maya to go to Cancun. So for us,
it's very clear that this is not after the benefit of the common of the people. It's really clear.
If you're a tourist, you're going to be there, and then you need to take a taxi to go to your a very expensive taxi to go to your hotel. And then if you want to move, you need to go back to the Maya train and go to Tulum.
Puede uno confundirse si no se hace preguntas elementales, preguntas que tienen que ver con la realidad que está viviendo el pueblo. Por ejemplo, ¿cuántos de nosotros, los pueblos mayas, los habitantes de las comunidades mayas, tenemos la posibilidad económica de pagar un boleto en ese tren construida para el turismo extranjero, para la gente que viene a pagar hasta 4,000, 5,000 pesos una noche de un cuarto de hotel en Cancún? ¿Quién de nosotros, los mayas de comunidad, vamos a poder hacer eso? ¿Qué tipo de mercancías tendríamos que cargar en ese tren para exportar? La carne la exportan los empresarios que tienen sus granjas porcícolas. La soya la exportan los empresarios que tienen el monocultivo de miles de hectáreas de soya. Así que nosotros no tenemos ninguna posibilidad de vernos beneficiados por ese tren. Lo que el anterior director de Fonatur dijo, que tal vez le salió del alma, como ha dicho la esposa del presidente, es que el tren va a traer muchos beneficios, que los mayas vamos a poder ir hasta pedir limosnas en las estaciones. Así lo dijo. Y es así como nos ven, es el lugar que nos tienen preparado. Es la actividad que contemplaron para los mayas. O cuando mucho han dicho que podemos ir a las estaciones a vender nuestra artesanía. nos han condenado a morir con esa actividad. Parece ser que ellos tienen la facultad de tomar la decisión sobre lo que tenemos que ser, lo que tenemos que hacer y cómo tenemos que acabar nuestros días. Nos han cancelado el derecho de tomar nuestras propias decisiones. Esto es lo que está detrás del Tren Maya. Justamente en el 2021, el año pasado, las empresas reportaron millonarias, multimillonarias ganancias que tuvieron en la construcción del tren. Las comunidades no solamente seguimos pobres, sino seguimos cada día más pobres. Por eso me parece que el discurso populista de hacer un tren para los pobres solo sirve para alimentar a quienes hoy están en el poder, como hace de por sí hace muchos años.
Bueno, hay implicaciones geopolíticas importantes de este proyecto. Este proyecto es gemelo de un proyecto de construcción del corredor transísmico, un corredor interoceánico que va de Coatzacoalcos a Salina Cruz, en el istmo de Tehuantepec, que es la parte más angostita de México. Este proyecto del corredor ahí es muy importante porque es pues una apuesta del comercio mundial para agilizar los traslados, la relación entre el este de Estados Unidos principalmente, pero de toda la cuenca del Atlántico hacia la cuenca del Pacífico y en sentido contrario. Este corredor en realidad está ubicado en la zona petrolera del país. Entonces, en una punta están todos los yacimientos, en la otra punta está la refinería, y eso marca la historia de esta región y eso colinda con la península de Yucatán. Entonces marca de algún modo también la importancia del Tren Maya conectado a este otro proyecto, porque digamos, la ruta es una completa que se partió como para justificar cada una de las partes. Pero está la del istmo de Tehuantepec y de ahí sale una ruta hacia la península de Yucatán que da la vuelta ahí en la península. ¿Qué pasa? Este tren está pensado en parte para transportar petróleo. Cuando se habla del Tren Maya se dice van a ser dos trenes. El de pasajeros, que se justifica sobre todo con el turismo de Yucatán y Quintana Roo, sobre todo, y el de carga. ¿El de carga qué es? Desde un principio decíamos, bueno, ¿qué tipo de carga y hacia dónde y hacia quiénes va? ¿Cómo conecta esto con el mercado mundial, ¿no? Y con todo esto que se está pensando en el corredor transísmico? Y nosotros hemos estado evaluando por qué necesita ir tanto petróleo hacia el lado de Cancún. En parte, pues para abastecer a los centros turísticos y todos los traslados que habrá en esta región, pero también porque hay la idea de hacer como una especie de sistema de puertos en la costa interna del Golfo de México, porque son puertos más bien chicos, no son puertos abiertos, son puertos cerrados, ¿no? Entonces está Coatzacoalcos, que es el más importante, pero los barcos, no pueden llegar muchos barcos ahí, no hay espacio, entonces se pone una secuencia de puertos y de esa manera los barcos pueden llegar a abastecerse a lo largo de toda la costa. Y son barcos que por supuesto llevan el petróleo hacia afuera, ¿no? Entonces esa en parte es la explicación ahí. Ahí se está también queriendo hacer otra refinería, la de Dos Bocas, que se supone que también va a servir para abastecer el mercado interno, pero también como para poder vender hacia el exterior ese petróleo. Entonces, sí está muy relacionado esto con actividades productivas.
Cuando llega el Tren Maya, lo que hace el tren es conectarlos entre sí y darle una integralidad a estos megaproyectos. El que siembra soya está tan feliz porque va a tener unos vagones para transportar su mercancía hasta el istmo de Tehuantepec, donde lo espera otro tren para que se pueda llevar la mercancía a China, que los capitales son chinos. Entonces va a tener la facilidad y la economía muy barata para poder transportar su mercancía. Igualmente se le va a hacer muy fácil traerlo hasta las granjas para que coman los cerdos. Y quien vende carne, que son los creadores de las granjas porcícolas, igual van a tener un tren para llevárselo al istmo y llevar la carne hasta China.
O sea, cuando nosotros decimos el proyecto Tren Maya, hay que entender bien que no es un proyecto de un tren, de un medio de comunicación, de transporte, sino que es un proyecto mucho más grande con todo lo que tiene alrededor, que son estos potenciales, estas actividades económicas que potencialmente se van a poder desarrollar justo por el paso del tren. Y entonces todo eso junto pues es el área de interés de algunos capitales. Yo pienso que no lo podemos entender si no lo vinculamos con el corredor interoceánico, porque gran parte del beneficio económico que se espera acá es justo porque va a poder conectar con todas las partes del mercado mundial de manera muy rápida y fácil.
Okay, about what happened between yesterday and today, the people from Fonatur, those who are making the Tren Maya, they presented a document that it's called MIA, Manifestación de Impacto Ambiental. This study, this manifestation, it should be done prior before before the start of any project, not after. So they destroyed the jungle without this document, because President said, we don't need those documents because now we have this new document that says that we don't need those studies and nothing of these things. So they start cutting off the jungle, but this is illegal. But they have now this document, the environmental impact manifestation. Now it doesn't work anymore. What should happen right now? It's a penalty and repair of the damage they made. That's what legally must happen right now.
A couple of weeks ago, they released this document after, like 2 years after beginning the work of the Tren Maya. And as soon as they released it, we started breaking it down, and it's flawed all the way. For this MIA, they only came 2 times to take samples. Both of them were this year. So they didn't have enough space and time to collect valid resources for their sample processing of the species that live here. You can see that reflected in the fact that they reached the conclusion that because they didn't find physical evidence of the first kind that would be facing off or in cameras finding jaguars, or second-hand evidence like feces or footprints, they concluded that there were no jaguars in the region of Tren Maya Tramo 5, which we have plenty evidence that they do, in fact, live in the area. They roam around all the time. You can see jaguars run over by cars real frequently, fortunately, in the region. And we've got many people who study jaguars in this region. So that really reflects the lack of time for them to really come and study the ecosystem and determine the kinds of species that live here. The most critical point in the document, in my opinion, is the conclusion. Before the conclusion, you can see in chapter 6, they brought up a table where they classified the potential benefits versus the adversities of building Tren Maya. There's 8 potential benefits, but as far as adversities go, they enlisted 25 of them. One of them critical, which was the deforestation level in order to be able to build the train. 11 of them with a severe category, and the other ones in the mid-range of importance. So you have 8 potential benefits that are really not that important versus 25 adversities that are telling you don't do this project, and that some of them are really critical. They are not considering the fact that building such a project will just attract more development in less time, which means more destruction, faster, and with real less resources dedicated to the conservation of the region. It would just accelerate the destruction that we've already have done to Riviera Maya, which is on a critical point right now. It's really a turning point on the next couple of years, whether we destroy completely the jungle around us, all the ecosystem, because it will impact the sea too, and or we can turn to sustainable development practices and keep Riviera Maya the paradise it is and it was before we came here.
On November of 2021, this president issued a decree. And this decree is basically 3 paragraphs. And it says that any of these government's works in any area is considered of national security, is prior, and it's strategic. And so he labeled this security, and that's the only reason that they can deny you the information for national security. But I mean, we're not in war, we're not. But he tried to do that, labeling that way, and then also to make everything fast track. Because on these 3 paragraphs, he labeled, and then he indicated that just by submitting an application, the authorities will have 5 days to grant an authorization on the project, whatever project. And if within 5 days it was not granted, it's considered affirmative, it's green light. 5 days. So, and they can start the process. They can start the project, the works. So you're saying that it's national security, it's fast track, I just submit, wait 5 days, and I can start a big, huge work, and then I have 1 year to do this whole process of the environmental impact studies. 1 year. You're talking that a year after you start the works, what are you going to study? You're already impacted. You're already affected. If there was some damage, the damage is done. They started the works, and these cannot be changed. It's the past. They started the works. By starting the works without the authorization, it means they must pay. There are penalties, there are sanctions, and there are also criminal procedures and civil procedures. That's what the law says. You cannot start a work with this authorization, which again is not just a paper, it's a whole process. So the lawsuits we started must end that on this, must end that these works were considered illegal. The authorization they issued is considered illegal. And what has become more important is that the decree that allows this start of works is considered illegal. Because the idea is not to keep repeating these huge mistakes and these huge damages. What they did it, period. And it must have consequences. We're talking that by law, it should be even criminal consequences.
Hay un problema adicional, y es que para poder realizar este proyecto, teniendo en cuenta la gran oposición que hay en la región, en muchos lados, la dificultad que tiene el desplazamiento de comunidades, alterar la vida de esta manera, pues el gobierno de México ha resuelto militarizarlo. Entonces el proyecto está militarizado al punto de que ha sido entregada la responsabilidad del Tren Maya al Ejército de México y la del corredor transísmico a la Marina. De manera que los dos tramos están militarizados. Es decir, se ha concedido a los proyectos estatus de seguridad nacional y por esa razón se justifica que los militares estén ahí, cuando no es un proyecto de seguridad nacional para nada, porque que no se haga no pone en riesgo a la nación, al contrario, casi más la pone en riesgo que si se haga. Entonces, en el caso del Tren Maya, las ganancias que haya del tren, del uso del tren, ¿no?, de todas las actividades que se van a crear ahí, las que son privadas y serán ganancias para sus portadores. Pero las que son, digamos, de carácter público, van a estar a cargo de los militares, pero también el beneficio va a ser para los militares. Entonces, claro, ese es un modo de decir, como toda la ganancia que habrá es para ustedes, para las pensiones del sector militar, así se ha dicho, entonces ellos son los más interesados en que eso funcione, y que funcione, además que tenga mucho éxito, muchos turistas para que vayan a transitar recurrentemente en estos trenes, porque eso es lo que a ellos les va a garantizar su retiro, su pensión, su jubilación, ¿sí? Entonces eso hace que las cosas sean muy complicadas. Eso es algo delicado porque, por ejemplo, si la población del lugar no está de acuerdo con el proyecto, pues no puede simplemente movilizarse en contra o interponer como sus modalidades de protesta, de rechazo del proyecto a las que está acostumbrada, porque en este caso el proyecto es militar, es un proyecto de seguridad nacional, entonces no hay manera de ponerse en contra de eso, y eso garantiza que hay, digamos, condiciones de arrasamiento sobre cualquiera que diga que no está de acuerdo. Entonces es muy delicado eso.
I mean, one of the things that, for example, the government started to violate is that we have to create a consultation, a proper consultation for the local communities. We have to give them all the information and leave them to think about it, discuss about it, and then they have to decide if they want a train or not nearby the communities. That didn't happen. The government went in a task force in order, with many people from the high profile from the government, and promised everything to the people, to the local people. They promised that they will give a lot of money, that they will receive a lot of money, that they will, if they pass through their own lands, then they will receive another better land, larger. They promised everything to these local people, and sadly the local people believed them, and now they are seeing the consequences, because obviously they don't have they don't receive large amounts of money. Some of them barely receive a small amount of money, and obviously they lost their land, and they don't have any other type of land, and they don't receive any other type of land. We know, at least here in Mexico, that the military are used to destroy the human rights, and without any accountability. They normally do whatever they want without any type of accountability, legal or prosecution or any type. Actually, we just saw yesterday that, for example, 2 military people killed a student because they confused him with nothing, but they decided that they were confused. The military says that they were confused and they killed him. They won't put a foot in the jail, this military that killed innocent people because he just was walking through in the street. That can happen, and that will happen for sure in the Yucatan Peninsula, particularly in areas that are far away from the urban centers, in which the military can do whatever they want. So we are highly worried because the human rights will be violated systematically in the area with this supposedly good project.
Pues finalmente quienes terminan pagando el precio como muy alto somos los que vivimos en este lugar, los que estamos en este lugar, porque tenemos muchas veces que obligarnos a aceptar las imposiciones que se toman de arriba. Y digo imposiciones porque no solamente las hacen por decretos legales, sino porque también emplean al Ejército Nacional, a las Fuerzas Armadas, para implementarlo. Y eso me parece muy peligroso, y eso me parece que no ayuda a construir justicia, ni ayuda a construir la salud que necesitamos los pueblos originarios, y tampoco los otros que no son pueblos originarios, pero que viven en este lugar. Por eso cabe preguntarnos, no que el tren iba a ser para los pueblos indígenas. ¿Dónde están los pueblos indígenas en ese lugar? Esto es un insulto a la inteligencia humana, y por eso me parece que el cinismo de este gobierno, como el de otros, cada día crece. En lugar de que creciera la gracia, crece la desgracia.
Today is May 27. And the machines stop, if I'm not wrong, like April 15. Jungle is rolling back. The fight is not over, but we stop it. Now the process is to wait what the judge will rule, because now it's a suspension that is only preventive. He have to take decisions. But then it wasn't only my amparo. Amparo is this legal resources. I think in English is similar to an injunction. It's not the same thing. I think the legal system works different, but something like that. What must happen is that the judge must rule for a definitive suspension. And once that happens, we go to trial. Going to trial will require years, something that political people do not have. They're in a hurry, they have to finish because they promise. So that will maybe means that we won. I don't know if they're gonna change the train again, if they're gonna force the train there and we're gonna get into a battle. But I truly believe that by this moment, we are winning. The proof to that is that it's already almost a month and a half, and we keep going because there is more hearings and they're growing. The government is going to lose at least 2 or 3 months. They could have been working on the old line. So we are winning. We are not after economical benefit from it. We are not chasing anything more than the well-being of the environment. That's for the good of everybody. I'm not gonna get paid by trees or for a jaguar. I'm just gonna have clean water. You know, I'm gonna have a place where my kid can go diving. So I may have a very good story to tell my grandsons. That's it. We're winning, and I hope we win.
Thank you.
Estamos en el tramo 5, lo que quisieron que fuese el tramo 5. Estábamos investigando unas cuevas, buscando registrar un murciélago que quería Roberto, buscando siempre más información. Me acabo de enterar que el juez concedió la suspensión definitiva contra Fonatur y Fonatur Tren Maya. Tenemos suspensión definitiva. Tenemos suspensión definitiva.
Estamos viendo cómo siguen devastando la zona, árboles. Allá al fondo se ven las máquinas trabajando también para tirar los árboles.